You stand on a mountain, the wind howling with the weight of your struggles, the peak obscured by the clouds of your doubts, the path below etched with the scars of your battles. But in your hands, you hold a lantern, a faint, flickering light that most would overlook, a warmth that most would ignore, a power that most would never claim. That lantern is gratitude, and it's the key to unlocking your true potential, the flame that lights your way, the force that lifts you above the storm. The world tells you to fight harder, to chase faster, to climb higher, but the truth is, your greatest strength lies not in the struggle, but in the gratitude that steadies your hand, fuels your fire, and guides your rise. Light the lantern, feel its warmth, and let it reveal the potential that's been within you all along. Picture a desert stretching endlessly before you, the sand burning underfoot, the sun scorching overhead, the horizon a mirage of dreams unfulfilled. Most people wander that desert. They chase the mirage, curse the heat, lament the journey. They let their minds become a wasteland of despair, a storm of resentment, a prison of scarcity. Their potential withers, their fire dims, their climb stalls. But you can choose a different path. Your mindset is the oasis in that desert, the shade that cools, the water that restores. It's the foundation of your gratitude, the lens through which you see the journey, the spark that ignites your potential. If your mind is a storm, the desert will break you. If your mind is an oasis, the desert will shape you. Most people let their mindset wither in the heat. They let struggle define them, let scarcity blind them, let resentment bury them. They think the desert is their enemy, the sun their curse, the sand their burden. But in 1948, as Dale Carnegie wrote How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, he stood in a world scarred by war, shadowed by loss, and he saw the desert differently. He didn't curse the struggle. He found gratitude within it. He didn't lament the scarcity. He built abundance through it. And that mindset turned his battles into a lantern that still lights your path today, calling you to master your own oasis. Your mindset is the lens through which you see the desert, the fire through which you fuel your lantern, the ground on which you stand to rise. Right now, your thoughts are shaping your potential. If your mind is a storm of complaints, your gratitude will flicker. If your mind is a prison of lack, your potential will fade. But if your mind is an oasis of possibility, your gratitude will burn bright and your potential will soar. Most people quit because they let their lens cloud. They see only the sand, feel only the heat, miss only the mirage. But you can choose differently. You can choose to see the shade, feel the water, light the lantern, because that shift is the beginning of your true potential. Let me tell you about a man named Farid, a merchant in a market where trade had dried, where stalls stood empty, where hope was a mirage. Farid dreamed of abundance, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential that lifted his family. But his first sale failed. No buyers, no goods, no chance. The desert burned and the lantern flickered. Most would have quit, and many told him to. But Farid shifted his lens. He thanked the empty market for its lessons, the failed sale for its wisdom, the struggle for its strength. He didn't let the scarcity break him. He let gratitude shape him. And years later, when his stall thrived, when his family flourished, when his potential became a legacy, he stood as a merchant, not of goods, but of gratitude. Your mindset is not a gift you're born with. It's an oasis you cultivate. It's a flame you stoke. It's a desert you cross. Most people quit because they let their minds dry out. They don't tend the oasis, don't light the lantern, don't face the heat. They don't ask the hard questions, don't seek the hard truths, don't do the hard work. But you can choose differently. Right now, I want you to look at your own desert. What struggle scorches you? What scarcity blinds you? What lack whispers that you're not enough? Now, shift your lens. See it not as a curse, but as a teacher. See it not as a burden, but as a lesson. See it not as an end, but as a beginning. Because gratitude begins where resentment ends. Belief is the spark that lights your lantern, the courage that lifts your gaze, the first step through the desert. But belief alone is fragile. It flickers in the wind, dims in the heat, falters without fuel. To unlock your true potential, you must pair your belief with clarity. Clarity of focus, clarity of path, clarity of the potential you're meant to claim. Most people let their belief wander. They chase every mirage, stumble through every dune, fall in every storm. Without clarity, their belief becomes a flicker, their gratitude a shadow, their potential a dream. With clarity, every step you take has meaning. Every light you cast has purpose. Every rise you claim has power. Imagine a traveler in that desert, the sand shifting, the sun blinding, the mirage taunting. He could chase the illusion, could wander aimlessly, could fall in despair. But he doesn't. He pulls a compass from his pack, sets his course, steadies his step. That traveler is you. The desert is your life. The compass is your clarity. Most people quit when the sand shifts. They chase without direction, wander without purpose, fall without a path. But you can choose differently. You can choose to set the course, to fix the gaze, to light the way with clarity. Clarity begins with a piercing question. What am I truly grateful for? Not what I want to gain, not what do I want to escape, but what do I already have that fuels my potential? For Carnegie, it was clear he was grateful for the chance to connect, to teach, to inspire. He didn't stumble into that clarity. He sought it. He didn't wait for the desert to cool. He navigated through it. And that clarity turned his belief into a flame, his gratitude into a light, his life into a legacy that still calls you to rise. Let me tell you about a woman named Noor, a painter in a village where colors were scarce, where canvases were torn, where potential was a mirage. Noor dreamed of creating art that spoke, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential that inspired her people. But her first painting faded, too dull, too weak, too failed. Most would have quit, and many told her to. But Noor had clarity. She knew what she was grateful for. The brush in her hand, the vision in her heart, the village at her side. She mixed new colors, painted with purpose, lit her lantern with intent. She didn't have much, but she had a compass. And years later, when her art adorned homes, when her colors moved souls, when her potential became a legacy, she stood as a traveler, not of roads, but of light. Clarity is not a one-time epiphany. It's a daily practice. Every morning, you must reset your compass. You must ask, what am I grateful for today? What path will I walk? What potential will I claim? The world will try to blur your focus. Distractions will shift the sand. Setbacks will blind your gaze. Doubts will test your course. But when you're clear, you're unstoppable. You don't just wander, you rise. You don't just flicker, you shine. You don't just dream, you unlock. And here's the secret Carnegie knew. Clarity strengthens belief. When you know what you're grateful for, your belief carries weight. It doesn't just light the desert, it guides the journey. It doesn't just warm the night, it fuels the potential. Most people quit because they lack clarity. They chase every mirage, scatter their belief, dim their gratitude. They don't set their course, so they don't unlock their potential. But you can choose differently. You can choose to navigate with clarity, to believe with intent, to shine with gratitude. Clarity alone, however, is not enough. It's the compass, not the journey. To unlock your true potential, you must pair your clarity with vision. A vision so vivid, so compelling, that it pulls you through the sand, lifts you over the dunes, carries you to the oasis even when the desert feels endless. Vision is the ability to see the potential before you claim it, to feel the triumph before you win it, to know the rise before you stand. It's the courage to dream beyond the heat, to imagine a world where your gratitude lights the way, where your potential changes everything. Think of a hawk soaring above the desert, its wings wide, its eyes sharp, its flight steady. It doesn't see the sand, but it feels the wind. It doesn't see the mirage, but it knows the horizon. And so, it soars through the heat, through the storm, through the impossible, because it has a vision of what lies beyond, an oasis of life, a sky of freedom, a world of potential. That hawk is you. The desert is your struggle. The oasis is your vision. Most people quit when the heat rises. They don't soar, don't see, don't vision. But you can choose differently. You can choose to feel the wind, to see the horizon, to unlock with vision. Let me tell you about a man named Cian, a poet in a time when words were weapons, when silence was safety, when potential was a risk. Cian dreamed of writing verses that healed, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential that defied fear. But his first poem was burned. Too bold, too raw, too dangerous. Most would have quit, and many told him to. But Cian had vision. He saw a world of peace, hearts of light, a legacy of words that soared. He wrote in secret, spoke in whispers, lit his lantern in shadows. And when his poetry became anthems, when his words became freedom, when his potential became a legacy, he stood as a hawk, not of wings, but of vision. Your vision is your lifeline, your wind, your horizon. Most people lack vision, or if they have it, it's too small, too faint, too easily buried in the sand. They see a puddle, not an oasis, a spark, not a flame, a moment, not a triumph. But you can choose differently. You can choose to dream bold, to see vast, to soar beyond the desert. What do you see when you close your eyes? A life lit by gratitude, a community lifted by your potential, a world changed by your vision. Make it vivid. Feel the water, hear the wind, touch the heights. Let live in you, because a vision that lives in you will never let the desert stop you. And yet, vision without purpose is a flame that flickers. It burns, it inspires, but it doesn't endure. Purpose is the fuel that feeds your vision, the steel that holds your belief, the compass that guides your gratitude. Most people quit because they lack purpose. They soar without meaning, shine without cause, dream without depth. They don't ask why, don't seek reason, don't live for something greater. But purpose is the heartbeat of your journey, the fire in your lantern, the reason your vision takes flight. Purpose is not something you find, it's something you choose. It's the decision to light your lantern for more than yourself, to dedicate your rise to a cause beyond your pain, to pour your vision into a mission that matters. For Carnegie, it was a world where gratitude built bridges, where clarity healed wounds, where potential lifted lives. He didn't stumble into that purpose. He claimed it. He didn't wait for the desert to bloom. He walked through it. And that purpose turned his gratitude into a legacy. Let me tell you about a woman named Saria, a farmer whose crops failed, whose land cracked, whose family hungered. Saria dreamed of feeding her village, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential of abundance. But the drought was cruel. Nothing grew, nothing thrived, nothing survived. Most would have abandoned the field, and many told her to. But Saria had purpose. She knew why she was there: to nourish her people, to defy the desert, to light a legacy of life. She dug wells, planted new seeds, lit her lantern with hope. She didn't have rain, but she had purpose. And when the fields bloomed, when the village ate, when her potential became a legacy, she stood as a farmer, not of land, but of light. Your purpose doesn't need to be loud or dramatic. It can be quiet, personal, fierce in its simplicity. It can be the way you teach your children, the way you heal your community, the way you create your art. But once you choose it, it will guide you. It will give you the strength to rise when the desert burns, the courage to shine when the storm rages, the will to unlock when the sand shifts. Most people quit because they lack purpose, or if they have it, they let the desert bury it. But you can choose differently. You can choose to claim your purpose, to live your purpose, to light with it. And purpose leads to discipline, the steady hand that holds your lantern, the unyielding will that lights your path, the daily choice that unlocks your potential. Most people quit because they lack discipline. They start with a spark, but they let it die. They shine with a lantern, but they let it dim. They rise with a purpose, but they don't persist. They think discipline is a burden, a chain, a sacrifice. But discipline is freedom. It's power. It's the rhythm that turns your lantern into a beacon. Think of a monk in a temple, his candle lit, his focus deep, his gratitude pure. Each prayer is a choice, each breath a commitment, each day a step toward enlightenment. He could rest, could dim his light, could quit the path. But he doesn't. He prays day after day until the temple glows, a temple of gratitude, a temple of potential, a temple of his making. That monk is you. The candle is your discipline. The temple is your legacy. Most people quit when the night grows long. They drop the candle, dim the light, let the path fade. But you can choose differently. You can choose to keep praying, to keep lighting, to keep rising. Discipline means showing up when the desert burns, shining when the storm looms, rising when the sand shifts. It's the choice to light your lantern every morning, to set your course every noon, to stoke your vision every night. Carnegie lived this. He wrote with discipline, taught with discipline, lit with discipline. He didn't let small setbacks stop him. He didn't let doubts dim him. He didn't let the desert break him. And his discipline turned his gratitude into a legacy. Let me tell you about a man named Luca, a runner whose legs ached, whose breath faltered, whose races ended in defeat. Luca dreamed of crossing the finish line, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential of grit. But his body failed, too slow, too weak, too broken. Most would have quit, and many told him to. But Luca had discipline. He trained through the pain, ran through the loss, lit his lantern with effort. He didn't have speed, but he had a candle. He didn't have victory, but he had a rhythm. And when he crossed that line, when the crowd roared, when his potential ran free, he stood as a monk, not of prayers, but of persistence. Discipline keeps you shining when the desert grows harsh, keeps you rising when the storm grows fierce, keeps you unlocking when the sand grows deep. Most people quit because they let discipline fade. They start, but they don't stay. They shine, but they don't endure. They rise, but they don't conquer. But you can choose to keep the rhythm, to hold the candle, to unlock with gratitude. And as you do, you'll find that discipline turns purpose into action, vision into reality, gratitude into power. Action is the swing of your lantern, the step through the desert, the push against the storm. The moment your discipline becomes a force, your purpose becomes a light, your vision becomes a path. The horizon doesn't yield to dreams alone. It opens to the traveler who moves, the hawk who soars, the monk who prays. Most people quit because they let their gratitude sit idle. They light the lantern, set the course, plant the seed, but they never swing, never fly, never pray. Their potential remains a flicker, a mirage, a promise unfulfilled. But you feel the weight of the lantern, the wind under your wings, the rhythm in your soul. That weight is your call to action. It's the bridge from gratitude to potential, the path to a life that shines beyond the desert. Action is not a grand leap, it's a steady march. It's the choice to swing when you'd rather rest, to soar when you'd rather land, to pray when you'd rather doubt. Most people let their lanterns dim. They speak of their potential, dream of their rise, whisper their gratitude, but they never act. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect wind, the perfect silence, and in that waiting, they lose their glow, their flight, their peace. They quit because action feels uncertain, effort feels heavy, movement feels risky. But Carnegie didn't wait for certainty. In the 1940s, as he faced his own storms, he acted through doubt, writing through fatigue, teaching through hardship, lighting through darkness. He didn't have a clear horizon, but he had a swing. He didn't have a steady wind, but he had a step. And those actions turned his gratitude into a potential that still inspires you today. Your actions are the rays from your lantern, the beats of your wings, the chants of your temple. Right now, every choice you make is shaping your potential. Will you let the lantern dim, the wings falter, the prayers fade? Will you stand still, letting the desert claim you? Or will you swing through the sand, soar through the storm, pray through the night, unlocking with every move, shining with every flight, rising with every chant? Most people quit because they don't act. They let fear dim their light, let doubt ground their wings, let inertia silence their prayers. But you can choose differently. You can choose to swing, to soar, to chant. Start now. Take the first step, lift the first wing, whisper the first prayer. Because every action, no matter how small, is a spark that ignites your potential. Let me tell you about a woman named Hannah, a weaver in a village where threads were sparse, where looms creaked, where potential was a whisper. Hannah dreamed of weaving tapestries that told stories, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential that warmed her people. But her first cloth tore too thin, too weak, too flawed. Most would have quit, and many told her to. But Hannah acted. She mended the threads, worked by candlelight, swung her loom with intent. She didn't wait for perfect yarn. She used what she had. She didn't wait for a grand stage. She wove where she stood. And when her tapestries adorned homes, when her stories moved hearts, when her potential became a legacy, she stood as a weaver, not of cloth, but of light. Action breeds momentum, and momentum lifts your journey. It's the rhythm of your lantern, the pulse of your wings, the beat of your temple. Most people quit because they don't build momentum. They swing once, then stop, soar once, then land, pray once, then fade. But you can choose to keep the rhythm, to let each action fuel the next, to let each step carry you higher. And as you act, the power of gratitude emerges, a force that steadies your swing, brightens your flight, deepens your prayer. Gratitude is the flame that lights your lantern, the wind that lifts your wings, the chant that fills your temple, the quiet strength that turns the desert into an oasis, the storm into a breeze, the struggle into a song. Most people quit because they overlook gratitude. They focus on the sand, curse the heat, lament the night. They see only the lack, feel only the pain, miss only the potential. Gratitude is the warmth that thaws the desert, the shield that calms the storm, the melody that lifts your soul. Imagine a shepherd in the wilderness, the flock scattered, the night cold, the path lost. He could curse the darkness, resent the distance, fear the wolves. But instead, he pauses to feel the wolves' warmth, to hear the lamb's bleats, to see the stars piercing the sky. That shepherd is you. The wilderness is your struggle. The stars are your gratitude. Most people quit when the night falls. They see only the cold, feel only the fear, miss only the light. But you can choose differently. You can choose to feel the warmth, hear the song, see the stars. Gratitude begins with a simple act. Honor the journey. Not what you'll gain, not what you've lost, but what you've earned. Every swing through the sand, every flight through the storm, every prayer in the night. Carnegie lived this. He didn't just chase potential. He cherished the process, the small lessons, the quiet victories, the humble lights. He found gratitude in the swing, the soar, the chant, and that gratitude fueled his rise. Let me tell you about a man named Omar, a fisherman whose nets emptied, whose boat rocked, whose hope sank. Omar dreamed of feeding his family, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential of abundance. But the sea was cruel. Nothing caught, nothing held, nothing survived. Most would have quit, and many told him to. But Omar chose gratitude. He thanked the sea for its lessons, the boat for its fight, the nets for their try. He didn't just fish for gain, he fished for growth. And when his nets filled, when his boats sailed, when his potential became a legacy, he stood as a shepherd, not of land, but of waves. Gratitude turns every swing into a light, every flight into a breeze, every chant into a harmony. Most people quit because they don't practice gratitude. They focus on what's missing, dwell on what's hard, ignore what's present. But you could choose to feel the wool, hear the bleat, see the star. Every day, find one thing to honor. A lantern lit, a wing lifted, a prayer whispered. Let that gratitude warm your hands, lift your spirit, unlock your potential. Yet the desert shifts, its sands move, its storms turn, its nights deepen. Adaptability is the skill that keeps your lantern burning when the wind changes, your wings steady when the sky shifts, your temple strong when the silence alters. Most people quit because they resist change. They cling to the old swing, fight the new storm, reject the altered night. They see adaptability as weakness, as surrender, as loss. But adaptability is strength, it's wisdom, it's the power to bend without breaking, to shift without stopping, to rise without fading. Picture a reed by a river, its stalk swaying, its roots deep, its leaves green despite the flood. The water rises fierce and wild, bending the reed, testing its hold. But the reed doesn't snap. It sways, it adjusts, it adapts. That reed is you. The river is your challenge. The sway is your adaptability. Most people quit when the flood comes. They stand rigid, break under pressure, fall when the current shifts. But you can choose to sway, to bend, to adapt. Adaptability begins with a willingness to let go of the swing that misses, of the flight that falters, of the prayer that fades. Carnegie adapted. He moved from small rooms to big stages, from handwritten notes to printed books, from doubt to impact. He didn't quit when the desert shifted. He shifted with it, and his potential kept growing. Let me tell you about a woman named Layla, a baker whose oven failed, whose bread burned, whose dreams turned to ash. Layla dreamed of feeding her village, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential of warmth. But the fire took everything, dough, hope, chance. Most would have quit, and many told her to. But Layla adapted. She baked outdoors, used new recipes, lit her lantern with resilience. She didn't cling to the old oven, she built the new. And when her bread nourished souls, when her warmth healed hearts, when her potential became a legacy, she stood as a reed, not of grass, but of grit. Adaptability keeps you swinging when the wind turns, keeps you soaring when the sky changes, keeps you chanting when the silence shifts. Most people quit because they can't adapt. They resist the new, fear the different, reject the shift. But you can choose to sway with the flood, to bend with the storm, to keep lighting through the change. Every adaptation is a lesson, a strength, a step toward your potential. Resilience is the steel in your lantern, the strength in your wings, the stone in your temple, the unyielding force that stands when you sway, that flies when you falter, that prays when you break. Most people quit because they lack resilience. They sway and snap, falter and fall, break and surrender. They see swaying as defeat, faltering as failure, breaking as the end. But resilience is the art of standing, the power of soaring, the strength of praying. It's not about never swaying, it's about always rising. Think of an oak in a tempest, its branches bending, its trunk firm, its roots deep. The wind howls, the rain lashes, the earth trembles. But the oak doesn't fall. It stands, scarred but strong, weathered but wise, eternal but alive. That oak is you. The tempest is your challenge. The stand is your resilience. Most people quit when the wind blows. They crumble under pressure, falter under rain, fall under storm. But you can choose to stand, to soar, to pray. Resilience grows with every storm you face, every falter you overcome, every break you mend. Carnegie faced tempests, rejections, doubts, hardships, yet he stood each time, writing, teaching, lighting. His resilience turned his gratitude into a legacy. Let me tell you about a man named Tariq, a carpenter whose tools broke, whose wood warped, whose dreams splintered. Tariq dreamed of building homes that sheltered, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential of stability. But the wood failed, too weak, too twisted, too broken. Most would have quit, and many told him to. But Tariq stood. He mended his tools, shaped new wood, lit his lantern with grit. He didn't let the warp define him. He let his resilience redefine his potential. And when his home stood tall, when his craft lifted families, when his legacy grew strong, he stood as an oak, not of trees, but of resolve. Resilience keeps you swinging when the tempest roars, keeps you soaring when the wind shifts, keeps you praying when the night deepens. Most people quit because they fear the sway, dread the falter, avoid the break. But you can choose to stand, to fly, to chant. Every stand builds your lantern. Every flight fuels your wings. Every prayer deepens your temple. And learning is the wind that shapes your resilience, the compass that guides your adaptability, the rain that feeds your gratitude. Most people quit because they stop learning. They think they know the swing, the flight, the prayer, and refuse to grow beyond it. But learning keeps you lighting, keeps you soaring, keeps you unlocking. It's the curiosity to ask why, the humility to seek how, the wisdom to embrace what's next. Learning begins with a question. Why did the storm come? How can I fly higher? What will my temple need? Carnegie learned from every class, every critique, every challenge, turning setbacks into light. Let me tell you about a woman named Aisha, a singer whose voice cracked, whose songs faltered, whose dreams silenced. Aisha dreamed of singing melodies that healed, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential of harmony. But her first note failed. Too sharp, too weak, too unheard. Most would have quit, and many told her to. But Aisha learned. She trained her voice, sought new tunes, lit her lantern with growth. And when her songs filled hearts, when her melodies became hope, when her potential became a legacy, she stood as a singer, not of failure, but of learning. Learning turns every storm into a lesson, every falter into a guide, every break into a teacher. Most people quit because they stop learning, but you can choose to ask, to grow, to know. Every question builds your gratitude. Every answer fuels your light. Every lesson unlocks your potential. Connection is the thread that weaves your lantern's light, the wind that lifts your wings, the chant that echoes through your temple, the unseen force that turns your solitary swing into a shared rhythm, your flight into a flock, your prayer into a chorus. The desert isn't crossed alone. It's conquered through the hands you hold, the hearts you lift, the voices you join. Most people quit because they light their lanterns in isolation. They swing alone, soar alone, pray alone. They think connection is a distraction, a burden, a weakness. But connection is strength. It's power. It's the flame that turns your gratitude into a beacon, your potential into a movement, your life into a legacy that resonates beyond the dunes. Connection begins with a choice to reach out, to listen, to care. It's the courage to share your lantern, to lift another's wings, to blend your chant with theirs. Most people let their isolation dim their light. They focus on their own desert, their own storm, their own temple, and they miss the oasis growing around them. They quit because they feel alone, because they lack support, because they carry the weight themselves. But Carnegie knew the power of connection. In the 1940s, as he wrote How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, he didn't just teach, he linked souls. He didn't just light, he inspired. He didn't just rise, he connected. And those bonds turned his gratitude into a potential that still calls to you today. Your connections are the rays that amplify your lantern, the flock that strengthens your flight, the choir that deepens your temple. Right now, every bond you build is unlocking your potential. Will you light alone, letting the desert overwhelm you? Will you soar in silence, letting your wings tire? Or will you reach out, connect deeply, and light with a chorus at your side? Most people quit because they don't connect. They let pride isolate them. Let fear divide them. Let solitude weaken them. But you can choose differently. You can choose to listen with heart, to care with soul, to light with connection. Start now. Extend one hand, lift one wing, join one voice. Because every connection you forge is a step toward your true potential. Let me tell you about a woman named Zara, a teacher in a land where knowledge was a secret, where classrooms were shadows, where potential was buried. Zara dreamed of educating minds, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential that freed her people. But her first lesson was ignored, too quiet, too bold, too risky. Most would have quit, and many told her to. But Zara connected. She gathered children in whispers, shared with parents in trust, lit her lantern with community. She didn't teach alone, she taught together. And when her students became leaders, when her light became a school, when her potential became a legacy, she stood as a teacher, not of books, but of bonds. Connection fuels courage, the fire that ignites your lantern, the wind that drives your wings, the strength that fills your temple, the unyielding force that dares you to light when the desert burns, to soar when the storm rages, to pray when the night deepens. Most people quit because they lack courage. They see the sand and retreat, feel the wind and falter, face the silence and stop. They think courage is absence of fear, a gift, a trait. But courage is a choice, a flame you kindle, a force you wield through every trembling swing. every uncertain flight, every fragile chant. Courage begins with a decision, to light the dark, to soar the storm, to pray the silence. No matter the fear, no matter the doubt, no matter the cost. Most people let fear dim their gratitude. They shrink from the desert, falter in the wind, stop in the night. They quit because the sand feels endless, the storm feels wild, the silence feels heavy. But Carnegie lived courage. He stood before doubting crowds with steady light, spoke through criticism with clear voice, lit through adversity with unwavering faith. He didn't have fearlessness, he had courage, and that courage turned his potential into a legacy. Your courage is the fire in your lantern, the lift in your wings, the beat in your temple. Right now, every fear you face is a chance to unlock. Will you let the desert stop you, the storm ground you, the night silence you? Or will you swing through the fear, soar through the wind, chant through the dark, lighting with every flame, flying with every lift, rising with every beat? Most people quit because they don't dare. They let fear dim them, let doubt ground them, let silence bury them. But you can choose differently. You can choose to face the sand, to ride the storm, to break the night. Every act of courage, no matter how small, is a spark that unlocks your potential. Let me tell you about a man named Eli, a builder in a city where structures crumbled, where hope was fragile, where potential was a risk. Eli dreamed of constructing homes that stood, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential of safety. But his first wall fell, too weak, too rushed, too flawed. Most would have quit, and many told him to. But Eli had courage. He built in defiance, lifted with grit, lit his lantern through the rubble. He didn't have stability, he had fire. And when his homes rose tall, when his safety became a haven, when his potential became a legacy, he stood as a builder, not of bricks, but of courage. Courage leads to faith, the anchor that steadies your lantern, the star that guides your wings, the foundation that holds your temple, the unshakable trust that your gratitude matters, your potential endures, your light will rise. Most people quit because they lack faith. They doubt their swing, falter in their flight, silence their prayer. They think faith is blind, a hope a wish. But faith is vision, it's strength, it's the quiet power that keeps you lighting when the desert fades, soaring when the stars hide, chanting when the silence falls. Faith begins with a whisper in the storm. I am enough, my gratitude is enough, my potential will be enough. Most people let doubt drown their faith. They question their path, falter in their rise, stop in their song. They quit because the desert feels barren, the storm feels eternal, the night feels endless. But Carnegie held faith. He believed in his light when few saw it, trusted his rise when doors closed, lit with conviction when the world doubted. He didn't have promises, he had faith. And that faith turned his gratitude into a legacy. Your faith is the anchor in your desert, the star in your storm, the stone in your night. Right now, every doubt you face is a chance to trust. Will you let the sand bury you, the wind ground you, the silence break you? Or will you swing with belief, soar with trust, chant with conviction, lighting with every anchor, flying with every star, rising with every stone? Most people quit because they don't trust. They let doubt unmoor them, let fear darken them, let uncertainty silence them. But you can choose differently. You can choose to anchor deep, to shine bright, to stand strong. Every whisper of faith, no matter how quiet, is a strength that unlocks your potential. Let me tell you about a woman named Nia, a healer in a place where sickness ruled, where cures failed, where hope was thin. Nia dreamed of mending bodies, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential of life. But her first remedy faltered. Too weak, too slow, too late. Most would have quit, and many told her to. But Nia had faith. She trusted her hands, believed in her light, lit her lantern with hope. She didn't have success, she had stone. And when her cures saved lives, when her healing became a beacon, when her potential became a legacy, she stood as a healer, not of flesh, but of faith. Faith fuels persistence, the rhythm that keeps your lantern swinging, the pulse that keeps your wings soaring, the beat that keeps your temple chanting, the relentless force that lights through the desert, flies through the storm, prays through the night. Most people quit because they lack persistence. They swing once, then stop, soar once, then land, chant once, then fade. They think persistence is effort, a struggle, a weight. But persistence is power. It's purpose. It's the steady glow that turns your gratitude into a legacy. Persistence begins with a choice to keep lighting, to keep soaring, to keep chanting, no matter the sand, no matter the wind, no matter the silence. Most people let exhaustion dim their potential. They tire of the swing, falter in the flight, stop in the prayer. But Carnegie persisted. He wrote through years of rejection, taught through decades of doubt, lit through a lifetime of storms. He didn't have ease, he had rhythm. And that persistence turned his light into a legacy. Your persistence is the rhythm in your lantern, the pulse in your wings, the beat in your temple. Right now, every obstacle you face is a chance to keep going. Will you let the desert stop you, the storm ground you, the night silence you? Or will you swing through the heat, soar through the gale, chant through the dark, lighting with every beat, flying with every pulse, rising with every rhythm? Most people quit because they don't persist. They let fatigue dim them, let wind stop them, let silence bury them. But you can choose differently. You can choose to keep the glow, to hold the flight, to sustain the chant. Every moment of persistence, no matter how hard, is a step that unlocks your potential. Let me tell you about a man named Ravi, a dancer whose steps stumbled, whose rhythm faltered, whose dreams tripped. Ravi dreamed of moving souls, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential of grace. But his first dance failed. Too clumsy, too slow, too flawed. Most would have quit, and many told him to. But Ravi persisted. He practiced through the pain, danced through the fall, lit his lantern with resolve. He didn't have perfection, he had rhythm. And when his dance filled stages, when his grace lifted spirits, when his potential became a legacy, he stood as a dancer, not of steps, but of persistence. Persistence builds legacy, the glow of your lantern, the reach of your wings, the echo of your temple. The lasting mark of a life lit with gratitude, a life flown with potential, a life chanted beyond your days. Most people quit because they don't see their legacy. They think it's too distant, too vast, too unreachable. They light for the moment, soar for the day, chant for the season. But legacy is the horizon you aim for, the sky you lift, the song you leave for those to come. Legacy begins with a vision, not of what you'll take, but of what you'll give. It's the choice to light for those who follow, to soar for those who seek, to chant for those who will hear your echo. Carnegie built a legacy, not of fame, but of light, not of wealth, but of wisdom, not of moments, but of movements. He didn't live for the day, he lit for the ages. And that legacy still calls you to light, to fly, to unlock. Your legacy is the glow of your gratitude, the reach of your potential, the echo of your rise. Right now, every choice you make is building that legacy. Will you light for the moment, soar for the day, chant for the season? Or will you light for the ages, soar for the lost, chant for the future, leaving a glow that endures, a flight that inspires, a song that shelters? Most people quit because they don't see their legacy. They let the moment dim them, let the day ground them, let the season silence them. But you can choose differently. You can choose to light with gratitude, to fly with potential, to build a legacy that lasts. Let me tell you about a woman named Mira, a storyteller in a time when tales were fading, where history was lost, where legacy was a whisper. Mira dreamed of weaving stories that remembered, of lighting lanterns, of unlocking a potential of memory. But her first tale was forgotten, too soft, too old, too quiet. Most would have quit, and many told her to. But Mira built a legacy. She told her stories to children, sang them to elders, lit her lantern with every word. She didn't have an audience. She had an echo. And when her tales became history, when her words became wisdom, when her potential became a legacy, she stood as a storyteller, not of moments, but of eternity.